thank you, everybody, for being so patient. I thought we'd kind of just take a stroll through your website, Sarah, if that would be okay with you.
Sure.
And basically, let's go ahead and jump in. Look, we've known each other, what, since 2002?
Yeah.
And it goes back, worked with your parents back then, and you were just coming into the company. And you've done some remarkable things, remarkable.
Oh,
So
thanks,
let's
Dave.
go ahead and jump in. And I want to let people know that Sarah is going to kind of lead here. I'm going to ask some good questions. And for anybody who has questions, there is a chat box. And if you can kind of let us get through the content, then we can turn right around and answer questions. All right. So again, thank you for your patience. Let's go ahead and Sarah, I'm on your homepage here.
All right.
And the idea being that Gaspar's design, remodel, and repair. I'm just a little shaken here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
No, not your fault. Trust me. And so tell us a little bit about Gaspar's. You're in Seattle, and tell about the kind of work you do and so forth.
Yeah, so we're in Seattle, Washington, as Dave said, and the company was founded in 1973 by my dad, and we started as just a construction company, a build firm, and we have grown into design build, and in 2002 we added home repair. And so we pride ourselves on helping clients no matter the size or complexity of their project. We take them all. We have a 4-hour minimum in our home repair up to, I think our largest remodel last year was a little over 2 million.
Terrific. And so you do a little bit of everything. I really liked, you got a beautiful website.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
So, oh no, you've really put some time into this. It shows. So you start with planning. Goes into design, and there's explanations, the actual production process, warranty, and say a little bit more about warranty, if you could.
Yeah, well, we have an 18-month warranty. In the state of Washington, it's required to have a 12-month, so we wanted to have it be more than that, and especially because we find in remodel, most things that come up that are really sort of covered, well, what we would consider covered under warranty, come up in the first year. And so we have created a 12-month tune-up to go back out at a year and just adjust cabinet doors if there's any caulking or grout or any of that kind of stuff that needs touched up or tweaked well within the warranty period. Plus, it allows the homeowner to not have to worry about calling us and saying, oh, can you come out and fix this, or this needs to be touched up. They know we'll be out in a year.
And tell me more about the handyman, because I know we were talking about that back in 2002. And what is this? What is the quote unquote handyman, which I know you've really customized for Gaspar's? What's the handyman done for you?
Well, not to be a stickler, Dave, but we're actually in the process, and you can see we're actually rebuilding our website right now. And one of the things we're changing on it is handyman is changing to home repair, because handyman is sexist, and we're really working on all of our inclusivity company-wide. But home repair, what it has done for us is it has allowed us to, it was the biggest division growth during the 2008-2009 crash. The home repair division grew by leaps and bounds, while the remodel division decreased. So it certainly is a great revenue source for when times are tough. People still need to do things on their home. They still need repairs.
I couldn't emphasize that more. And when it was dead, and it was dead for everybody in 2008 or 2009, I know your revenue went down, but you kept it above 3.5 million. And you know, what you just said is so true, that when things are slow, people may not buy a new car, but they'll still service it. They will still take care of their home. All right. Yeah. They will still do needed repairs. What do you think the percentage of your work was just due to those repair capabilities. Could you even remember 2008
You
and
know,
2009?
yeah, I would say that's when our home repair division crested 1 million. And, we had, 3.5, we were kind of bouncing between 5 million and 3.5, but home repair became a pretty significant portion of our revenue at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
And how's it doing now? I mean, to me, and this is where we first got introduced, Sarah, this
Hmm.
is where I'm going to say you own the rooftop,
Hmm.
because when you can make sure that they have a family dentist, a family doctor, a family attorney, can I safely say that Gaspars is their family contractor?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I think you see that in just the number of repeat clients that we have and additional projects that we do, and the fact that people call us for all kinds of things on their home. And sometimes there are things that, we don't specialize in and we need to refer them to a trusted advisor, but we are their first call and they trust us to help them take care of all things home related.
yeah, yeah. So you actually assumed ownership in 2008
Hmm.
and worked with your parents, and what a wonderful legacy,
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
Rich and Kathy to bring you into the business.
Hmm.
Um, you'd mentioned in a note we traded back and forth that your company core strengths. Can you kind
Hmm.
of comment? Because I am so dedicated and committed to, if we can communicate our core values,
Hmm.
not just to clients, but to employees, because that's really what we represent. Could you just say a little bit more about your company core strengths?
Yeah, I mean, specifically, we have 5 core values that we live and breathe. And all of our employees, I would say safely, could repeat them all back to you and know what they are. We talk about them on a regular basis. They're our sort of guiding North Star, and we have a one-page strategic plan, and we review our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats every year. And actually, we do it every quarter, and we have everybody in the company review it. And then we come back together as a group and talk about, okay, what do we need to shift? Anything in our plan that needs to shift? And as we bounce it off of the lens of our core values, what do we need to be focused on? What are our goals for each quarter? And what are our annual initiatives that we want to move the needle on? I'm not sure
Okay.
I'm completely covering what you're asking.
It's become so clear to me that when an owner can become very clear about their why, and I'm using a term from Simon Sinek,
Hmm.
but the why, which is that my core values, because I want to echo that through the company. And Nordstrom's department store does this well. They've got
Hmm.
5 core values, and it's why Nordstrom has the reputation they do. You don't cut corners, you do things the right way.
Hmm.
And look, you've grown when you actually took over ownership from Gaspar's, doing a little over 5 million, all right, in annual revenue
Hmm.
with 15 employees. And tell us where you're at now.
So this year, I think we will probably land somewhere around 19 million, and we have about 57 employees between
57
the three
employees.
divisions. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's astounding. And so I just pulled up, and you've got a wonderful review here by category. I can click on additions and see sample additions: basements, bathrooms, exteriors. So it's a neat little portfolio right online, isn't it?
It sure is. One
Okay.
of my favorite websites, Dave, is house.com.
Yes.
And I use it with clients all the time. And I just loved, so I kind of modeled this after it's not as nearly as robust as theirs, but I love their search engine because you can plug in all sorts of, terms and uh, come up with projects that are relevant. So I wanted to make this as easy as it could be for our clients or potential clients.
Terrific. And the idea, I got to tell you, from the outside looking in, the idea of growing a team from 15 to 57.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, on your website, you've got the different positions in the company with position information requirements, project lead, home repair, sales, uh, senior estimator, architectural design. It just sounds like an overwhelming task. Um, Say more about growing the team and how you keep your head above water. Can I say it that way?
Sure. Um, well, I certainly have my personal passion and background is in human resources, and I went into the corporate world and realized pretty quickly that that wasn't where I wanted to put my skills. And being in small business is far more empowering and fun, and helping people grow is my mission. And so I say to people when I hire them, whether you work for me for a week or 10 years, my goal is that you grow in your profession, whether that's a personal communication tool, whether that's growing in your role. And so we're continually trying to figure out how to address that and how to give people career growth. It's challenging in a remodeling company because there's only so many positions and so many levels, but growing gives us more of those opportunities. So we're focused on communication training. We're focused on, we have something that's called, we started Gaspar's University this past year. And so we have employees teaching each other on the ins and outs of Gaspars, and we're working on creating an official certificate for that, and just looking at all of the ways that we can train and grow. We've been involved in Sandler training, which is I'll call it communication training. It used to be called Sandler Sales. Very powerful tool. We've been involved in that for the last 15 years. And it has infiltrated our company culture and how we communicate with each other and how we communicate with clients. It's been instrumental in our growth. Let's see, what else, Dave, am I missing there?
Well, it's just to grow from 15 to 57, and especially in this market, how are you finding and employing people, because, you're doing such a large volume? Can you do kind of a quick review of how you grew to 57 people? Because it does sound overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. And I think the statistic is 1 in 3 people will actually stick in a company when you're going through the hiring process. So I guess one thing that I would say is don't be deflated. The saying, hire slow, fire fast. Of course, there's all kinds of employment laws involved in each of the different states. So you've got to make sure that you're doing things legally. But a lot of it, I think, comes down to the reputation and employees telling their friends about the company. I've actually had clients become employees. So people are really, they like the culture, they like the community, they're drawn to it, and good people attract good people. So we do a referral bonus to employees, although and it's $1,000 referral bonus. The person has to be on board for 90 days, and then we pay out that referral bonus. I mean, we certainly pay them out, but I don't know that that's really the big draw. I think it's more that word gets out that it's a good place to work.
Terrific. And you mentioned getting some leadership training through Sandler.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's an ongoing challenge. And I know you must have some difficult conversations with people, and every contractor owner, has the same issues. Can you tell us how you kind of approach these difficult conversations and how you got better at it?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that I believe really strongly in is doing hard things, tackling hard things. knowing that I have to do it and then following through and doing it, modeling that for my team and helping them model through difficult conversations. We do have, so in leadership training, we are creating kind of a next tier. So we've got our top leadership in the company, and then our production managers and kind of middle management level. And then we've added supervisors to that level that are also involved in the training with us, because you want to always be training the next person to fill in. And just this past week, we had a situation with a client who was losing confidence and frustrated. And I sat down with a team of 4, including the production manager, the salesperson, the designer, and the lead. And we mapped out having a really difficult conversation with the homeowner. And then they got on the phone and got the homeowner on a call, and they all went through a technique. It's not, I didn't make it up, but it's called the 4 F's of an apology. And it's very simple. So it's forgive me for, that must have made you feel, in the future I will, and is that fair? And each of them gave their script of those versions, and I was so impressed by how deep they dug in really getting into the true apology. And the homeowner was so appreciative of that. So that's just an example of a difficult conversation that we lean into.
Was that learned through your advisor?
It was.
Terrific.
Yeah.
No, I have several conversations with the clients I work with too, which is, taking full responsibility for what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then circling back and say, how do we make this right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With all the work that you're doing, can you say a little bit about the management meetings? Because you've got sales, design, production, handyman.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage all those different divisions safely, effectively, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Well, we definitely have regular meeting cadence. So each of the divisions has a regular weekly meeting. We have what we call our pipeline meeting once a week with sales and design and production. And we do weekly leadership meetings. We do quarterly offsites for a day. We do an annual retreat for 2 days. We do a monthly all company meeting. I know it sounds like a lot of meetings. Each one has a very clear agenda and objectives, both what does each person need to bring to the meeting, and what is each person coming to the meeting to get out of the meeting.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things that we're in the process of tweaking is, rather than meeting by divisional teams, so production and design and sales, we're starting November 13th, we're going to try something different where we meet based on lanes. So we've got production and design and sales lined up in a mini team, kind of a mini company, if you will. And so we've got 4 of these lanes, and we're going to try to do these meetings based on projects and clients, and all of the people who are working on those projects, and going so far as to assign our expediters who do our dump runs all the way through finance people into each lane. So I'll report back how that's going.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback what I think you just said. When you just did the client call, you brought on design, sales, the project manager. It sounds similar to what you just described, which is on a per project basis, having the players meet on a somewhat regular basis.
Yep. All the way down to currently, we just have our production managers in that meeting. We don't have our lead carpenters. We don't have our carpenters. We don't have our expediters, so that everybody is hearing, hey, here's what's going on this job site that you're probably going to be going by. Maybe you're doing a dump run at. And sometimes the best ideas come from people who aren't directly involved in communicating with the client.
Got it. How do you decide who attends what meeting, Sarah?
Well, that's why we're currently dividing it into lanes, and everybody's going to be in that weekly meeting. Everybody in the company is going to be in that lane weekly meeting.
Wow. Who prepares the agendas?
Gosh, I mean, we've had agendas in place for so many years. I would say probably it's going to be the person who's leading the meeting. Certainly for this new lane meeting, we're working on it as a leadership team to come up with the agenda. And we'll probably tweak it as time goes on and we realize, gosh, you know, things need to be shifted a little bit. We don't need to be talking about this and we do need to be talking about that. So one of the things that I'm a big believer in is set a course, follow the course, and be open to shifting as needed.
Do you have like kind of a core management team? Because, you know, this is so much to manage. Is there a core management group that meet with you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, working in lanes? Who are the key people? Because you can't do it with 57 people. And I'm speaking out loud here, thinking out loud. But who are the people that meet with you to really determine company direction and growth? Are there key
Oh,
positions?
yes, definitely. You're absolutely right, Dave. I can't manage 57 people.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I guess I'll call it my executive leadership team is my head of production, my head of design, I've got my head of finance and HR, and then my head of sales, and then myself.
good.
Yeah.
If there was one or two recommendations, it can never be one, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody is listening and looking to grow,
Mm-hmm.
what would be, based on what you learned, are there two or three kernels that you could say, you know, there's an old saying, you learn a whole lot more from the hard times than the good, but those lessons are indelible.
Mm-hmm.
So looking back at your growth from 2008 to now, what were those life lessons that, you know, this is why, you know, I work with a mentor, you work with a coach, which
Mm-hmm.
is, you know, I don't need to repeat someone else's mistakes. And the reality is there's no school in custom building and remodeling. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So it's not just running the projects, but it's managing people, and not just your employees, but, you know, emotional clients.
Mm-hmm.
So are there some, like, you can see where I'm going with this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some key takeaways that if I'm coming into you and I'm going to say, Sarah, how did you grow from 5 to, you know, 19 million? What would be the key kernels you might share with me just from your experienced perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dave.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I think I have three that I would highlight. One, as you mentioned, having a coach or a mentor involved. I've been involved with our coach since 2007, and he helped us transition get the buy-sell agreement in place between my parents and I. He helped us really iron out a solid selling system and communication tools company-wide, as well as just that sort of logical sounding board for me as the owner to have that person, Dave, to just say, check me on this. Does this make sense? I'm frustrated about this. Talk me off a ledge. That person is critical because you don't, unless you have a partner, which I don't, and even if you do, you probably need a coach even more because you're dealing with that dynamic also. So just to have that sounding board is key, definitely key. It has been for me in our growth. Another is, you know, staying involved. I think, you know, I have a lot of friends who are business owners, and I think they, in some cases, have gotten a bit too removed. And of course, it's a fine line because we're all struggling, I think, as business owners to work on the business and not in the business. So finding that right balance is important. And
Yeah.
I myself am guilty of not finding that right balance. I've been very immersed in sales for the last 15 years, and I'm trying to get myself out of being the top salesperson and running the company, but I always will have a foot in sales. I will always still go out on sales calls and meet with clients because I don't want to lose touch with that and with my team. And then I think the third is really coming up with your kind of overall process and systems. There is a system called Traction. There's a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And you can also go through the training and implement that. I use a lot of the tools in that system that I have picked up along the way from other places. So the one-page strategic plan, I think, is either Rockefeller Habits or Vern Harnish, regular meeting cadence, a lot of those things. Gene Wickman has really kind of pulled together the best systems into one system that they call Traction. So whether you call it Traction or other things coming from other places, I'm really a big believer in having the systems and following them.
Yeah, and the Traction, that's the entrepreneur operating system, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that's what it's called, yes.
I do too, and I know that there's an audiobook called Understanding the Entrepreneurial Operating System based on what Gino Wickman has done. It's just what you said. It's looking at every step in your systems and then creating metrics so that you can guide that growth. Is that a simple description?
Absolutely. And being able to know where you're at all times. We are unique in that we do our financials on a weekly basis. We do payroll on a weekly basis. We process our job costs and billings on a weekly basis. So I know week to week exactly where we're at financially, and then I have all of my metrics about comparing where we need to be.
Terrific. Are you a fixed bid, cost plus, or do you do a little bit of both?
We are primarily fixed bid, and we changed to that. We had been time and materials for the first 30-something years, and then we went into the 2008-2009 crash, and clients came to us and said, look, I'm not comfortable with a moving target. I want a firm price. And so we started doing fixed bid and realized that, in fact, we can be more profitable and deliver a better client experience that way. So that's been really successful for us. And we're in the process, we just changed this year to doing our design under a fixed bid as well. So far, I think it's going well, but I'm sure we'll have some tweaks to it.
It never stops, does it?
Yep, nope.
And so with hitting close to 19 million, what's your average job size at this point, Sarah?
Our average job size last year was about 237,000. I am seeing that there is still quite a bit of business out there. In fact, I was at a Halloween party Tuesday night, and I felt like I was a celebrity because one after another person kept coming up to me. Oh my God, you own Gaspar's? I've been meaning to talk to you about a bathroom remodel. Wow. So there's still lots of interest in business out there, although I think the average project size will be smaller this next year than last year.
Are you noticing, and other than your Halloween party, are you noticing, I've talked with a number of my clients, and due to interest rates and just general uncertainty, is your lead flow diminishing a little at this point in time from last year?
Yeah, Dave, we're down about 5 leads per week, 4 to 5 leads per week from where we were last year. And those leads are smaller projects on the whole. So yeah, our pipeline is down about 4 million. Our sales pipeline is down about 4 million from where it was. Last year. It was about 16 million, and right now we're at about 12, which is still healthy, but we'd like to see it be higher.
Yeah, we've had the best of time, the best of years here the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Is there anything you say, and I'm two things here. Is there anything you say no to? I mean, that's a very broad question, but kind of in your qualifying, are there certain things that you can green light just due to the type of project? It's a very broad question. I don't even know how you might answer that.
Absolutely. I mean, part of our sales system is to qualify people who are good leads for us. And really, it comes down to most of the time, Dave, I like to lead the client or the prospect to no, to coming to me and saying, yeah, I don't think you're the right fit for me, by sharing, here's how we work. So
Right.
the biggest thing to say no to is somebody who's not willing to follow our system. We charge for putting together an estimate. We don't do free estimates. We value our time. What else can I say about that? Really important to me, not, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
This is, look, I've said to more than one client, I got to do a hip replacement a couple years back, Sarah. And,
Mm.
a good physician now, they guide you through this. And they're not waiting for me to go to WebMD and come in with recommendations. All right. The surgeon I got to work with had done over 5,000 joint replacements.
Yeah.
So I'm going to compare Gaspar's. You're just doing elective surgery on their house.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said is when you've really clarified and documented the Gaspar's process, the best thing you can do is bring people into your process. And if it's safe to say they're not fond of your process, they're probably not your client.
Absolutely, Dave.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's scary, I think, to say we're going to charge for this and I might lose business. Over the years, as I've tweaked things and tried different things, I find that if you're clear on your process and your system, most people want to follow it. They want to know that you have a process and a system, and they will follow it.
Yeah. And they'd love to see it documented. So it's not
Yep,
just a promise, but here it
yep,
is. Here's what we do. And then you exercise that and demonstrate it on a regular basis.
absolutely. Yeah. And I
Um,
guess the other thing I would say about that, Dave, is I'm also a firm believer in not chasing shiny objects. I think it's easy to get distracted by, ooh, look, we could do this development project. We're a little slow in this division. Maybe we should build a custom home for this client who's approached us, or do a commercial build out. And I've just been really clear. We're going to stick to our lane and our expertise and what we do really, really well.
so you don't do custom homes, even if someone comes to you and says, you're the person I want to do this.
We just don't know. We don't. And we don't have the expertise in all of the groundwork that, like literally, water mitigation, all of the dirt work that is involved in those projects. And we're remodeling contractors. So we have a set of skills to deal with existing structures and all the complexities. And along with that comes cost. And so you can find somebody to build your custom home less expensively than me.
Good point. That's a great point. Um, you understand what your sweet spot is.
Yeah.
And if I'm mentioning, custom remodeling, it is different from custom home building.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a sweet spot, you've identified it, and you've identified a very clear process to guide clients through the Gaspar's process.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'll continue to grow?
I do.
Okay.
I
Well, you're in
do.
a great market. Okay.
Yeah, I do. We have a goal next year. I think we will be aiming for about 21 million next year. And
Terrific.
we've mapped out, what that's going to take, and I believe we will have no problem accomplishing it. Our problem
Terrific.
is that our goal this year was 16.5 million, and we're going to come in at 19 million. And that wasn't because we set out to beat it or crush it. So.
It sounds like you hit it because things are working. You've got a system that's working.
I believe that is true. Yeah.
Okay. Um, gosh, I had a question that just flew out of my mind again. Um, the hours working. I work with a custom builder in Park City, which is very different from what you do.
Hmm.
But entrepreneurs are drawn into working long hours. And how have you balanced that for yourself? 50 some employees, 19 million in revenue. How's your life look? I'm putting you on the spot here, Sarah.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty balanced. My husband and my daughter may disagree. I definitely, will answer emails in the evening, sometimes more watching TV, and that's probably legit working, but I enjoy it and it feels balanced to me. I mean, I would say I'm probably most weeks 40 to 50 hours. I do work during the day, during the week, and I try not to on the weekends. And for the most part, I do a pretty good job of that.
We all have the same habit, Sarah. You know,
Mhm.
I will look at certain notes. I'll follow up on commitments because on the weekend it's not, I have the time to do it. But it's
Yeah,
not like somebody's twisting my arm.
right.
All right.
Yep,
There's a
yep,
certain energy to it, and there's an involvement and engagement.
yep, yep.
All right. What I'd
Yeah, for
like to
sure.
do, yeah, is we've got some questions, and I want to be very sensitive to timing here. And so let me see if I can review some questions with you. Can we do that?
Sure.
All right. Mary Thompson from our workshop is saying, can't wait to see you. And, let's open this up for Sarah. I mean, you've got a unique resource here. And are there some outstanding questions that we can pose here? So let me open up the box here. There's some comments as we were struggling. Good thing we're better at remodeling than technology. Boy, isn't that the truth? All right.
And you'd think after what, 3 or 4 years of this, we'd have it all down pat.
It's never the
But
case, ever.
no, no, always opportunities.
All right, here's an interesting one. Why did you think 3 million there's no context? Let me see if I can get this. Why did you think 3 million wasn't enough? At what point do you think will be enough? I'm looking for more of a personal answer, not an accounting question. An
It's
interesting comment, which is
yeah,
what's important? What's enough? Great question.
yeah, yeah. That is a great question. I mean, some part of it, obviously the accounting piece, but also the personal piece is, um, what do I need to plan for my eventual retirement? And that certainly has not been top of mind until probably just the last couple of years, really starting to think about, okay, what do I want for my future to be?
Yeah,
I think so. There's, certainly there's that financial piece of it. What do I want my legacy to be? What do I want to pass on?
yeah,
Thinking about all of those things as I think about, what might that transition plan look like? And then also just from a people development standpoint, I hinted at it earlier, but with 10 to 15 people, the opportunities to help people explore their careers and invest in training and grow the Gaspars University are much more limited. And I'm just so passionate about the concept of having um, a way for people to grow in their carpentry careers. We have so few carpentry programs and schools and ways for people to learn. And so creating a system that allows people to come in as a carpenter, we go carpenter, lead one, lead two, superintendent, and then production manager. So that gives, quite a range of opportunity and growth. And so creating what all of those different levels are and how to give people that path. I hope I'm answering your question.
well, it's interesting. So you've got Gaspars University, and I've said this to many of the clients I'm working with. When you find somebody with a good attitude and a desire to work, you really can give people a career. And
Mhm,
you're just saying the same thing. Is
mhm,
somebody comes in as a carpenter that after training and a certain amount of time, they can become a project manager and perhaps even go further.
mhm.
And that's career training. I mean, you can give people a six-figure income by working with a good company and learning, because once again, I'm not aware of any real college for remodeling.
Yeah.
So we're learning this, and unfortunately, the learning curves can be quite steep and quite expensive.
Yes.
When did you start Gaspar's University?
We actually just started it in the last 2 years.
Okay.
And it has just taken off. We had a goal last year of having 50, 50 unique attendees in the different classes, and I think we are at like 120. Like, people just signed up like gangbusters. So now we have the opportunity to really formalize it a bit more and say, okay, so a new hire coming in, we want that person to take these 3 classes, understanding financials and what our process is. And so ironing that out to be more formalized is the opportunity we have this year.
Is that all in-house employees? Are there other people who you're inviting in?
Thus far, it has been all in-house employees, but I think as we look to the future to grow it, it will include outside folks.
Interesting. Yeah, you're creating your own training pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Like
From
Excel.
Josh.
What remodeling company doesn't need Excel training?
Oh, well, understanding a budget, understanding how a
Yeah.
company makes money, reading a profit and loss, and
Mm-hmm.
boy,
Yep.
when people can see, what's the working parts of a successful company, they can take ownership.
Yep. Yep.
Josh from the workshop says, "Have you thought about your own exit strategy?" Ironically enough.
Yeah, Josh, I have been thinking about it. I went to David's seminar on transition planning. I probably don't have the title of it correct, David, but in Colorado last month, which was very informative. I have thought about it. I don't have my plan yet figured out, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking out probably in the next 10 years to definitely not be involved in the day-to-day operations, and ideally not going to work every day anymore.
Yeah, and in the just a little brief description in the workshop, we covered beginning to put together a transition roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, looking at 3 different succession options. One being the sale to a third party, another being accessing SBA financing, and a third, an employee-owned cooperative, which is a dynamic concept in itself.
Yeah.
So it was a very lively group, to say the least. Nobody was shy.
It was great. It was really informative. Thanks, Dave.
It was terrific. And so I got a really neat question from Becky Duffy, who's got some young kids. How old was your daughter when you bought the business? And if she was young, how did you balance looking to grow the business and taking care of your child? Great question.
Yeah. And I think it is really tough in our culture to do that as a working mom. I think balance is a misnomer. I think we're juggling. There's just no such thing as balance.
That's fair. Yeah, that's very fair.
When you think, okay, yeah, this week I did a really great job wearing my boss hat, but oh my God, I just did a horrible job wearing my parenting hat. It's hard. My daughter was born in 2008, and that is the year that I signed the buy-sell agreement with my parents. Yeah, so it was a whirlwind. Possibly, you just don't realize how sleep deprived you are for years to come after that, and that's probably a blessing. But I definitely it was hard, and thankfully my husband has a much less demanding job. He does work full time, but not in the business and not as an entrepreneur, as a individual contributor. So that was really helpful, having him be my support and my rock. But yeah, I mean, there's just not a silver bullet. It's hard, Becky.
There's really no simple answer, is there?
Mm-mm.
You got the beginning, though.
Yeah, not being hard on yourself about it. And that is so easy to say, but it is tough. And we are our worst critic.
Yeah, that's pretty well said. Note from Steve, who also joined us in Denver, is
Hi,
do you
Steve.
sub out most of your work, or is it self-performing, Sarah, with your staff?
Right. We subcontract about 2/3 of the project. So we
Okay.
self-perform carpentry, demo, rough and finish carpentry, obviously setting windows, doors, cabinets, all of that stuff we do in-house. The carpentry
Terrific.
piece we do in-house. Yeah.
And you really maintain quality that way. The carpentry, framing, finish, but then generally speaking, you're subbing out the rest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the state of
Question.
Washington, we have to sub out electrical, plumbing, and HVAC unless we are a licensed electrician, plumber, or HVAC company, which we are not. So we have to subcontract those three trades always.
Well, interesting question that's somewhat related. With as much volume as you do, have you thought about bringing a licensed electrician in-house, a licensed
Mhm.
plumber in-house?
I have thought about it. And thus far, I've resisted the urge, but I have thought about it. I got real close last year to hiring one of my electricians, but I decided that I didn't want to take on the liability. I like to be able to shift that liability to those trade partners, and I'm
Good
willing to
point.
pay them for it and lose some margin on it.
And yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. One last question is you use the term expediter. What does your expediter do for Gaspar's construction?
We have two. They drive our dump trucks. They go and help with when we start a project, getting all of our dust protection, floor protection, all of our site protection installed. And then they'll help with the actual demo and physical labor, as well as obviously hauling it off to the dump. And then they'll also do material drop-offs for our leads. I feel like they're the glue, really, because they're seeing all the jobs, all the leads. They know more about what's going on out there than I do.
Isn't it true?
Mm-hmm.
How long's your longest term employee been with you?
Well, my brother works for me, and he's been on the payroll since he was 15. But outside of him, I think my next longest term employee is probably 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad hired her right out of carpentry school.
That's great.
Yeah.
What a neat legacy, and how old's your daughter now? Just out of curiosity.
She is 15.
Is she expressing any interest, or has she watched you enough where time will tell?
I guess, we'll see. She hasn't thus far expressed any interest.
Well, and at 15, it's a tad early.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I have taken an hour of your time, and everybody, again, thank you for being so patient as I maneuvered my way through our technological incapacity. And Sarah, thank you. I mean, this is
Oh,
intriguing stuff. Thank you for taking the time and agreeing just to review what you've done and how you did it. Would you like any closing comments?
I guess just to say thanks for the opportunity, Dave, to chat with everybody. I think, I listened to how I built this podcast with I think it's
Yes.
Ravi. Yeah. Great podcast, by the way. And he always asks at the end, is it luck or hard work? And I think it's both. I'm very fortunate to have been able to step into an established business and continue to grow it. And then I, put in the hard work.
Terrific. I think there's one last question here, and I'm sure you have that for different positions, you've got a bonus program
Mhm,
set up
mhm,
rewarding
mhm,
performance for every department.
mhm, mhm.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, we do. And that kind of came out of you're talking about the lessons we learned from the hard times. That came out of the crash in 2008, 2009, where we had to cut salaries across the board in order to not have to lay people off. And I said, I don't ever want to do this again. I guess we should never say never, but I didn't want to. And so I charted the path of creating a bonus program that was directly related to the company's success, but also gave each person individual ownership in being able to earn their bonus. So if the company's doing well and the employee's doing well, then they earn their bonus.
You brought up one last thing, which is, in any downturn, we're always concerned because of our overhead. When you went from 5 million down to 3.5 in 2008 and 2009, it sounds like you didn't lay off people, but was there across the board salary reduction?
There was, and obviously the most significant was mine, and then the leadership team, and then, but also my carpenters. I mean, that was tough. That's really, really tough.
Yeah. Well, you said something significant also to every entrepreneur. If employees know more about the running of the business, every single one of us have paid our employees and gone without income because that's what was required. And it sounds like you did that same thing.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Just I've got some thank you notes here. Sarah, thank you for taking the time, for sharing your experience, and thanking both of us. And once again, Sarah, running your business takes time. Thank you for joining me for this hour.
Oh, thanks, Dave. It was my pleasure.
All right. We're going to keep talking, Sarah.
Okay.
So 21,
sounds good.
21 years and counting. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good, Dave. I look forward to it.
All right. You too. Thank you again, Sarah.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.